Hey everyone, welcome to NAB here in Vegas. But what is NAB?
NAB is the world's biggest convention of content producers. It's incredible.
And we're about to find out what it takes to create content that is true high performance. We're about to break down one of the most popular shows on YouTube. Hit subscribe right now to get more content like this. But right now, let's get inside and meet the creator of Hot Ones, Sean Evans. What do you believe high performance is?
I think it's just operating at an elite level. The atmospheric conditions are such that you perform better than the way that you drew it up in your head, even if you have a high standard.
And you've managed to get there with your show, but I want to know how you've got there.
I think the reason the show has worked is because, it's a celebrity interview show, but celebrity is this thing that by definition is unobtainable, right? But we all know what it's like to just die on hot sauce. So what the show kind of does is take a celebrity off that pedestal, and takes it down to a level that everyone understands and everyone knows. And for a long time, people have been trying to invent that, what's it like to have a beer with this person show. And I think by way of hot sauce, we accidentally invented it. I think it's just, you see a side to someone that you wouldn't normally see. It's a very human side. It's a side that we all know and a side that we understand. So I think that has been the thing that has fueled the show. But also, it is just compelling and funny to watch an A-list celebrity just melt down on hot sauce. You do have to just kind of watch it. So is high concept a reason is I want to make for the show? There's also that. And then I like to think that in addition to that, it also is a compelling interview show on its own. So I think that's when you combine those elements, this unique hook and then something that on its own could stand alone. Then I think when you put those things together, that's when you have a hit.
What fascinates us, Sean, is the concept of leveling up with a celebrity is great, but I'm interested in the bit that happens before it. Like your strategy to get these guys to come on and be willing to open up and make themselves vulnerable.
Yeah, for me, it's like, I don't really think big picture that often, if that makes sense. Like, I don't have a 5-year plan. I don't plan those things out totally. I kind of just always think about the next interview, and that's it. I like the process of just making a sandwich, wrapping it up, serving it to the customer, but I don't bask in that. I don't necessarily watch them eat it, if that makes sense, or see how they're gonna react to it. I just go on to making the next sandwich. And as far as, why celebrities, I think it shows them in a different light, so often they're put in a box, and I think that they get to express themselves a little bit more in this kind of environment. You have a longer leash, so I think it starts with the second they walk in, putting them at ease, that little chit chat that you have in the beginning is important. And then I think too, we call it the Charlize Theron shoulder drop is what we call it when we see it happen. And it's somebody who's gonna walk into the interview and maybe have some trepidation, but after a couple of questions, when it hits them in a different way and they realize, oh, this maybe isn't as silly or goofy as the concept is on paper, then I think that they become relaxed in that. And then you have, of course, the spice that's hitting them. You're not able to be in that PR-driven flight pattern once the spice hits you. And then you it disappears. The context, the unnatural context of an interview kind of becomes natural. The camera guys, the producers, the lights, it all melts away, and it's just me and them in this dark black curtain void with the wings. And at the end of it, it's almost like they don't know what hit them. It's just that crazy emotional roller coaster that the wings of death can do to somebody. And I think all of those things combined with a disposition that I might have with them, that all creates that trust and that rhythm.
What's the most common thing they say as soon as the camera stops rolling and you say, thanks very much?
Naturally, they'll go to the sauces. So thank you very much, and naturally they'll want to do an autopsy on the experience that they just had. So they'll be like, this one was amazing. This one I never want to see again. The bomb, they'll pull that out and be like, why would you even have this on the table? They kind of deconstruct the experience as kind of a natural punctuation on what they just went through.
Huel has been a staple of my diet for some time, and I'm currently loving these Huel Daily A to Z vitamins. Tastes great, refreshing. Each can has 26 vitamins and minerals, offering 154 science-backed health benefits. reduced tiredness and fatigue, normal cognitive function, healthy skin, hair and nails, and vitamin D for immunity. This is a vitamin drink that offers everything you could need it to. So what are you waiting for? Grab it right now in Tesco stores nationwide or at Huel.com and let me know what you think. And what about from your perspective? Because we have a very similar experience. You know, we're asking people to really open up on our show about their psychological behaviours, their emotions, their relationships with people. And, you know, people don't talk about that stuff very often, right? So we see about 20 minutes in, they've run out of all of the things they've said to all the other media they've done for their last 20 years of their career. And they've realised they've got nothing else to go to. So now the truth has to come out. So we get the Charlize Theron shoulder drop as well. And when we see that, we're like,
We got him.
now here we go.
Right.
How does it feel for you?
Same exact thing. When I see that shoulder drop, then I know that I have them there. And also, too, I'm not going to betray that trust either. You know, like as the thing goes, we like to call it the most comfortable, least comfortable interview show. And I take a lot of pride in that.
So, in the most comfortable, least comfortable interview show, what are the most startling insights that celebrities have revealed to you?
Oh, well, you know, I think it's just, it's all one giant spice dream in my brain, you know? You see a side of people when they want to quit, when it's uncomfortable, but they won't allow themselves, you know? Like an actor will fully immerse themselves in the experience. You know, I kind of think that that's interesting, that an actor takes that approach. While an athlete, you might just see them be like, one more rep. You know, you kind of see them go into that mode. So I think there is a way in which the craft of the person, the demeanor of the person, it all comes out naturally with how they behave with the wings. Sometimes in that show, you can learn more about them and how they interact with the show and how they interact with the hot sauces than any sort of probing question could ever reveal.
So give us an example then of a guest that you felt you saw their true identity.
Pete Davidson, for example, when he was on the show, I remember pulling the last dab. You know, on Wing 10, we'll put an extra dab of the last dab on. I remember pulling the last dab away from him and putting it off the table to protect him from himself, because that is the kind of commitment that he's going to give when he's putting on a show. And then recently, we just shot an episode with Conan O'Brien, and it was the exact same way. You know, like this is a born OG, true entertainer in like almost the vaudevillian tradition, you know what I mean? So to see the way that he committed to the show, committed to the bit, is covered in hot sauce, has it all over his clothes, is waving around a bottle of hot sauce while he gives this motivational and extremely thoughtful tirade about why it's important to read high and to read low when understanding the foundations of comedy. And while that was happening, I was like, this is at the heart, the essence of Hot Ones.
And I'm always looking at it from the host's perspective. I'm thinking, what are you thinking at that moment?
Just awesome TV. That's all that's going through. That's all that's in my head is great TV, great TV, great TV, awesome TV. You know, as you know, when it's electric in the room, when you're experiencing that, you know, the audience is going to experience that for the first time right along with you once you publish the show. So sometimes it can feel like the night before Christmas when you have a drop like that and you know what's going to happen when people see that and the way that it's going to scratch the itch of entertainment for your audience. So that was, I knew that was napalm the night before and I couldn't wait to drop it.
I'm so impatient when we've got a big name coming on, aren't you? I'm like, when's this one going out? When's it happening?
I do circle calendars and stuff like that, yeah.
But as a host, Sean, I'm really intrigued by the research you do, the work in the shadows before the lights and the cameras start to roll. Your research is legendary. Tell us a little bit about how you go about researching a guest.
Well, I think it comes from me enjoying that process. Like I was talking with making the sandwich, I like walking a mile in someone else's shoes. I think that's like one of the great privileges of the job is everyone's story who I've been given access to and then can deconstruct it, put an autopsy on it afterwards, you know, and like execute that in the studio. So I love it. If we have an actor, I'll watch their movies because sometimes, you know, the expression that you get in their art can teach you more about that person than anything that you read, any magazine profile that you read. So if they're an artist, their music becomes the soundtrack to my week. If they're an author, I'll read the books. But then you'll also do that other work, and I've hired my younger brother to help me out. Chris Schoenberger, who I do the show with, is also in the same, like the way we made the show in the beginning is the exact same way we make the show now as far as research goes. And then, you know, we'll put everything that we discovered in a dossier, we'll compare notes, we'll come up with topics that we think could work, you know, each wing is a topic, then narrow it down to the 10 or so that we want to feature in the show, find a way that you're going to layer it, have a thesis question, a handful of follow-ups, and that's more or less how a run of show will come together. But it's just about taking advantage of the time, you know. I like a week to prepare. A week to me is perfect. Sometimes you only have 48 hours and it becomes like, you know, you're back in college and you have a final and you just cram, do as much as you can, because ultimately if high profile celebrity guest is going to come in to do the show, no one who does hot ones really needs to do hot ones. But if they're going to do that for us, then I think it's important that we meet them halfway with what is hopefully a thoughtful and career spanning interview so that they stay engaged with the show and continue to work their way down the gauntlet.
Love that. We're about to let you go, but just one final question. I think we live in the most exciting time ever for creators. You know, I started out as a TV presenter. The only way to be a TV presenter was to get a job.
Yeah.
Now, this changes the game. You know, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. So what would you like to leave people thinking about regarding creating content, creating a brand, and building an empire that you're building at the moment?
Well, I think the most important thing is you only do it if you love it. You can't imagine yourself doing anything else. You know, part of what you're talking about with this opportunity has created, you know, a sense that people can just go out and do it, or like that you have, that you're owed some sort of like career in podcasting or career in doing TV or whatever. That's not the case. There's only so many eyeballs and ears to go around, and like you're talking about with the opportunity comes cutthroat competition. People can do whatever they want with their eyes and ears. They can tailor what they watch to their specific tastes and interests. So unless you're committed to that, and unless you understand that creative work is embarrassing and it's public and you're going to take criticism, and there's going to be a lot that's involved with it that isn't just so like, oh, I'm going to be famous or I'm going to make a lot of money or all of those things. If you're passionate about interviewing and you can't imagine doing anything else, that's where I'm at, and that's why I do it. And I would do it for free, and I just can't stop it, and I want to keep building on it and that craft and all of those things. Like, that's the only thing I think about. That's what I'm obsessed about. That's what keeps me moving. So I think it's that. Like, if you have a perspective or an expression that you just can't keep inside, you want to let it out, then like go ahead and take on a creative pursuit. But unless you really live it, love it, and breathe it, you're destined for failure, I think.
Love it. Mate, thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. That was smooth too, by the way. That was clean too. This guy, clean claps, clean daps.